Thank you for tuning in to Testimony Tuesday. We have seen so many people experience the love of God. We've witnessed thousands receive Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and many experience life-changing miracles. Today we want to take just a few moments and have some of our members share what God has done for them since they've been attending The Rock, and just let everybody know what a great God they serve. Hey everybody, we want to welcome you back to Testimony Tuesday. I'm Dennis Morgan, Associate Pastor here at the Rock Family Worship Center, and we're back at it. We hope you've been enjoying our testimonies. We've just had some awesome friends and family members here at the Rock sharing what God's been doing in their life, and today is no exception. Today we are blessed to have Mr. Jay Miller with us.
Hello, Dennis.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Jay literally has part of himself here in our new ministry center that we're celebrating 6 years in. Jay was a big part of helping us design and build this place. So Jay has just been such a good friend of the ministry, and today we're going to share a little bit about what his history is and what God has brought him out of. So Jay, if you don't mind, just give us an idea. When did you first come to the Rock?
Well, Dennis, it was about 13 and a half, going on 14 years ago, and my wife and I were down on the river, and we had some mutual friends that came to the Rock. Now, my wife and I at that time wasn't going to church, but a young lady encouraged us to come to the Rock. And we had been married for a couple of years and went to some normal Baptist churches, Methodist churches. And my wife made it clear that we was not going to go to a Pentecostal church. But what she said, because she trusted her friend, she said, Jay, if you'll go try this church out, then and you like it and you feel secure, then I'll come behind you. So I asked my friend where the church was located, and she mentioned it was off of Emerson Avenue up near the library. So I spent about 3 months at North Baptist Church thinking it was the Rock. So every Sunday I would talk to my friend and I would say, boy, didn't see you at church this morning. She said, well, I was there. I was sitting on the right side. The next week would go by, I was there, I didn't see you, I was sitting on the left side. So finally we put two and two together, and after 3 months being at the North Baptist, I finally made it down the street to the Rock. And that's where I met you and Pastor Dave and everybody, and really begin to see the Spirit of God, see the excitement that people had to go into church, seeing the passion and the desire to serve more and seek more of God. And I really enjoyed that. It encouraged me that there was more to my life than what I was getting out of it.
So stop right there. When you came to church, would you say that your life was fulfilled at that time?
In my mind, I thought my life was fulfilled. I had a wife, kids, job, and I thought I was happy.
What was missing?
Happiness, joy. It was just a mirror of everything that I knew in my life. I thought, well, happiness comes because you're married. Happiness comes because you have a job. Happiness comes because you have a home. And once I got to the Rock, then I got to really know what joy was about.
So what was the teetering point, Jay? At what point did you come and have an experience where you realized, oh my gosh, there is more?
Wow, there were so many events, because each service ministered straight to my heart, straight to my spirit, whether pastor was talking about the joy of the Lord or the loving or forgiving. So it was every service that was so important, getting me through to beginning to understand the real true love of God.
Now let's talk about, getting up to where you were. We're a product of our environment, So getting up to the place to where you came to church, and as a child growing up as a young man, were you raised in church? Were you Christian as a young person, throughout your teen years and into young adulthood?
Well, my parents were divorced when I was just past a year old. So on the weekends I spent with my mother, she would drag me to church. And I always made the joke, I had a drug addiction from birth. My mother drugged me to every service she could.
Yeah.
But my father was basically an atheist, and he didn't believe in service. But I lived with him 26, 27 days out of the month, so there was no church. The only church I knew was when my mother drugged me on the weekends. But then after service, I went back to my father's, and there was no more God.
Okay. Did that influence your life?
Church influenced my life but in a bad way, because I had no foundation. I was just drug in, drug out, drug in, drug out. So I really didn't know the love of God. I didn't understand what church was at that time.
Well, what was your life like at that time outside of church?
I believed it was great. You know, I was just a young kid running the streets, doing whatever I want, not much discipline, not much guidance. I thought it was great because I didn't have a lot of structure. I could do whatever I want. But now looking back, it was horrible. You know, I didn't have God in my life. I didn't have encouragement. I didn't have words of exhortation. I didn't have any true love. My parents were not very good at showing love.
What were some of the most traumatic events you can remember in your childhood, or things that you experienced as a young man?
I'd have to say the alcoholism, taking basically both my fathers, my stepfather and my birth father, that alcoholism just controlling them nonstop 24/7, and the mental abuse on my mother's side from my grandmother down, just the terrible arguments and the yelling and the screaming and the violence. So I had it on both sides. Alcoholism, where nobody paid attention to you, and then on the other side it was complete aggression.
Okay, so this is the sum total of everything that you knew, that you grew up with, which brought you into your Christian life.
That's correct.
So you come to the Rock, you begin to bring your family here. Your wife came, she followed, she
right.
met her end of the agreement, right?
That's right.
And so you're here. Fast forward a little bit, you know, what was your experience as you began to get plugged into the ministry here at the Rock Church?
Well, when I first got to the Rock and began to meet everybody, and the pastor needed some assistance with a project he was on at his home, I began to spend every day with him working on it at his house. And then I began to realize what a family man was, a father to his children, a husband to the wife, a man of the house, a man that prays. And I began to think, wow, something's really missing in my life, because here's a guy who's always happy, always full of joy, and seeks the Lord. So I was very blessed to be able to spend that first year of my Rock life with him.
Okay, so that was the beginning stages of getting plugged in.
That's right.
All right, now your family's growing. You and Cindy have made a lot of changes in your life the past couple of years in your family.
Yeah.
Talk about that for a moment.
Wow. Some prophets and some ministers that visited church began to tell my wife and I that we would have many children. They saw us with many children. Well, my wife can't have children. She has one, I have one. That was the end of our parenting. And the Lord saw it differently. He opened up doors to where we've adopted 4. We fostered 39.
Wow.
Right now we have 6 children at our house under the age of 10. We're near 50 years old. It's seems to be chaos to everybody else, but it's very normal. And I think it's normal because it's God-driven.
Yeah.
You know, there's not an age thing. There's not a bunch of chaos or fear. So it is amazing what has happened in the last couple of years.
Well, we talked about the traumatic things that happened in your past, what God has done since He's brought you here. If you had to say, what has been the most impactful thing that the Holy Spirit has done to change Jay Miller from the inside out in, let's say, the past 10 years, what would it be?
I begin to understand the true Spirit of God, the true adoption of God, because it's based around family. It's based around loving one another, laying down your life. That laying down your life, it's with your family as well as your friends. So years of praying at the Rock, my brother gets saved. And I said, there's no way my brother could get saved. And now he's a full member of the Rock. Years of praying, 15 years of praying, my father gets saved. The atheist I mentioned earlier, he gets saved. The children at our home who come in as adoptive children, and they're atheists, and now they're saved. So that foundation of family and love that comes from the Rock Church, and the support from 500 members who have supported us for 15 years, that is the true meaning of church to me.
That's awesome. Well, this is what we're going to do in closing. I want you to look at that camera, Jay, and there's families out there right now, they have never connected to a church, or they've connected to a church and they never really felt like they were home, or maybe they have no understanding of family. They've never transitioned from what your testimony was to where you're at now. just take a moment and speak to them and encourage them in the importance of finding a church family and connecting.
There's nothing like that. When you begin to have that ease in your life, that nobody's out to harm you, nobody's out to hurt you, when family members give you a hug, it's not political in this church where they give you a hug just because you walked through the door. They genuinely care at this house. They care about how your kids are doing, how school's going for your kids, how your jobs are going. There's a true love and a family-ship here at the Rock Church. And I believe that's why it's called the Rock Family Worship Center, because it is about family. And everybody genuinely cares about everybody. It's a life-changing event to come here, to begin to understand the Word, how the Word ministers to your heart, how it begins to change you, how you see life, and it's just a wonderful place to be.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. It's good having you here today.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Testimony Tuesday. And if you're looking for a church home, if you're looking for a family to connect to, we just encourage you to come check us out. We have services on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m., and we'd love to see you. Until next time, God bless. Have an awesome week.